Driving the Conversation, brought to you by Volvo Brighton, supporting the Outside the Locker Room Foundation.
Now, thanks to our friends at Volvo Cars Brighton, we're back for episode 2 of Driving the Conversation. And don't forget to jump on our YouTube page and check out episode 1, where I caught up with Campbell Brown, where we started the conversation with mental health. Now today, I'm about to take off in this XC90 to go catch up with one of my other mates. So let's go. Now, thanks to our friends at Volvo Cars Brighton, who have given us this XC90 for us to start the conversation about mental health. Now, this car happens to be one of the safest cars on the road, so what better way to start the conversation than in the safest car that you can buy today. Mr. Mark Howard, how are you?
Good to see you, brother.
You too, how you been? Good?
Good. What about the wheels you're rolling?
Oh, it's all right, isn't it?
Oh, Volvo.
Top of the range, you're looking after me at Volvo Cars Brighton.
How you going, mate?
Going very well, mate. Thanks for joining the episode.
Oh, my pleasure.
Having a conversation.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, mate. I've got to first of all start off by thanking you.
What's that for?
Ever since I've been on your podcast, the Howie Games.
Yeah.
Great feedback.
Yeah, it's funny. That was one of the early episodes, wasn't it? I think there's probably, we're up to 70 odd now. I think that was certainly in the first 15. I remember at the time we'd never met each other, and it was pretty detailed. You were discussing some of the struggles you'd been through and had come out the other side of, and I wasn't quite sure how to handle it at the time. But it's funny. That's probably one of 3 episodes. It's still, that would have been a year and a half ago. I still got a tremendous amount of feedback from it, and I just. The fact that you could talk so openly and honestly about some of the things you've been through, and the amount of messages I get from people saying, I listened to that and as a result I did this and this and this, it's a credit to you, mate. It floored me that day.
It's the opportunity to go on a platform of your podcast and talk about it has been tremendous. I get the same thing, weekly, I would say. Get messages and emails and Facebook messages, people just saying how great it was, and credit to you, mate. So, you started that a few years ago now, but you're obviously in the media quite a bit.
Yep.
And what are you doing with yourself today at the moment? People would know you more likely for the Big Bash.
Yeah, well, at the moment I'm doing a poor job of filling in for Eddie Maguire on his breakfast radio show. Him and Luke Darcy and Will Anderson. 2 weeks off, so it's a 4 a.m. alarm for me. I live down the coast in Barwon Heads, as you know, so on air from 6 with Bridget DeClough from till 9, and then doing sort of a fair bit of footy at the moment. It's sort of footy season, so footy on a Friday and a Sunday, and keep an eye on the cricket though.
Yeah, got to be. Well, big game Thursday night.
Oh, the Poms! I would have rather we knocked off South Africa and met the New Zealanders in the semi, but I guess we're going to have to beat the Poms at some stage. It might as well be in the semi.
You don't know what you're going to get with them.
No, you don't.
They're all over the joint.
Yeah, you don't. I hope they go with Matty Wade. I think he could make a difference there at the top of the order, but I reckon Starkey will knock him over, won't he?
Oh, he's got to. Left arm coming in, swinging in.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'd be packing myself, him running in the other end of the
Yeah, my word. He's a gun.
I wouldn't see the ball. So, mate, what got you into media? Obviously sport was a big part of your life growing up, was it? And you did triathlons, you did a lot of running.
Yeah, a fair bit of running and cycling. I like to surf these days. I love surfing. Played a lot of cricket and a bit of footy growing up. I fell into it, Jakey. Cut a long story short, I fell into working on the Formula One World Tour for sort of 3 or 4 years, and got the opportunity through that, from pulling camera cables to eventually interviewing the drivers. And it's sort of, I looked at the different jobs, the directing or the producing or the outside manual work, and chatting with these athletes was by far and away the best part of it. So I sort of stuck to it, and thanks to some help with a few people along the way, it's been a dream. I still can't believe it's my job, and I do pinch myself every day. It's a privilege, and you don't want to lose sight of that. You're getting up. You get up at 4 o'clock this morning, you think, oh wow, and today I was speaking to Elise Perry about taking 7 in England. So
she's a good sports person.
She's a superstar. So it's a great gig, mate. It's the best gig on the planet, and to get to sit with some of these people and chat with them about what they do, it's privilege is the right word for it.
So over your journey, mate, who's some of the best sports personalities you've come across, and is there anyone sticks in your mind for the good and the bad?
Yeah, with the podcast, the episodes, I think there's 70 odd episodes, people can have a real impact on you. Ricky Ponting, working with him at 10 and then finding a bit about what drives him certainly had an impact on me. Luke Longley, when he starts telling you stories about playing basketball with Michael Jordan checking into hotel rooms under assumed names. I think he said he checked in under the name Norman Gunston, so people wouldn't know who he was. I just did an episode with Kate and Bronte Campbell, and Kate spoke about not winning a race she was favourite for at the Rio Olympics in the 100 metre freestyle, and and the mental anguish
Yeah,
that
right.
put her through, mate, and the pressure.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we need to be a bit more understanding that these people, as much as we see them on the front page of the paper or on the telly doing amazing things, they're people as well.
Yeah, that's it.
And they're just like us, and they have good days and they have bad days. And when you write something about them or say something about them, they'll hear it,
Yeah.
and their mum will hear it, and their brother will hear it, and their
Has an
sister will
impact,
hear it.
doesn't
Yeah,
So is that something that you've seen more? So conversations with on your podcast, do you find that more athletes now are coming out talking more about their stress levels?
Massively. I think, and I don't say this lightly, mate. I think it's from people like yourself.
Schwatter.
Wayne Schwass
Yeah.
spoke to us on Sunday about the fact he'd been to the Royal Commission into Mental Health, and he was the first witness. And for him to talk about the fact that he was up on the stage
podium,
when they won the premiership, and he was thinking about ending his own life. And I know you've been through that. And I think for footballers now, in the last 3 weeks, Dane Beams,
Jongy.
Lin Jong, as well as the guy that went from the Gold Coast to the
Hawley.
Kangaroos, Aaron Hall, for them
Yeah.
to come out and say it. It's amazing what you guys as athletes can do to lead the community. So when you're a normal person like me and you hear someone like Wayne Schwass saying, this is what I went through and you need to find help and get yourself help, I think it's making tremendous strides. Because it's hard to know, Jakey.
Yeah.
And I think we had this conversation. If you've got a busted leg and you're a footballer, I can say to you, mate, I can relate to it, and when are you going to be back playing?
Yep.
But when you say to me you're out of the game because you're dealing with some mental health issues, it's hard to know what questions to ask.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really difficult.
And it's been the biggest challenge in our industry, being the AFL industry, for years, Mark. And it's something now, it's going to come out more frequently now. We get the weekly now, we get the Instagram posts coming up from Triple M.
Yeah.
With players stepping away and that, and
Yep.
it's becoming more frequent. And we can't do anything but encourage players to take time away if they need to do that. Because it is a high pressure environment. It is hard for the everyday punter out there who can't relate to mental health, being specifically depression, and you try and get your head around, what do you mean you can't, play footy on the weekend, or you got all this money and you got everything around you. How can you be depressed and sad?
I think that very fact from you and Schwatter and people in this space, it's breaking that down now. But it's still a leap of faith, I think, especially for blokes, to say to someone, hey mate, you know what, I'm actually struggling.
Yep.
But
and the whole concept of this series is driving the conversation is about the best environment to get one of your mates in is actually in the car.
Yeah, right.
Because as men, we find it difficult to kind of sit across from each other and look each other in the eyes and talk about the way we're
we
feeling.
Can just look straight ahead.
We're forward, we're having a chat. As soon as we jump in, we start talking about cricket, sport, and then it just leads into automatically, as you've seen, about mental health.
Yeah,
so it's a great kind of environment to get people in, and this is what the whole thing's encouraging your mates and your family. If you're not sure how to approach it, jump in the car and take them to a game of footy, or get them away for the weekend, go camping, things like that, because you kind of find yourself in the position where you have to talk.
Yeah, and it's all this, mate. I'm trying everything I can to keep my kids. They're 9 and 7, and we've done what I would call, hopefully, a good job so far in keeping them outside and away from the screens. But mate, I know myself. Like I can finish a Big Bash game. And you might have called 19.5 deliveries okay, and you might have said a bloke's hit it to mid-wicket instead of mid-on, and you'll get 50 messages of just absolute hate. And it's like, where does the hate come from? Why do you want to sit at home in your lounge room and send me something that is going to flatten my day?
Yeah, it blows your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's getting worse and worse.
And that, I can imagine as a sports person, times 100. I spoke to various sports people about this. I spoke to Glenn Maxwell about this, and Aaron Finch has told me, mate, you will not believe what Maxie gets on his social media after he doesn't make runs. So I don't know. I think we have to take some responsibility as people as well.
There's no doubt.
No, to not send message. You saw the message that was sent to Dane Beams, and he was only a young fella, and Beamer had a chat with him, and hopefully that's one more person and one more family educated.
Yeah, definitely. Now, mate, I was reading up on you as I...
Oh yeah, a bit of research, Jakey.
A bit of research, I'm just trying to take a leaf out of your book, mate, the journalist. And I didn't realise, but part of your commentary experience at the AFL, you called Buddy's 100th goal one.
Yeah, I was on the boundary.
You're on the boundary.
Yeah, Christy Malthouse was meant to be on the boundary, but she was heavily pregnant with her first child, and the boss said to me, I was in Geelong doing a game, he said, mate, come to the game tonight and sit on the boundary with Christy and help her out in case Buddy kicks 100. And
You'd be rubbing your hands
well,
again.
yeah, exactly. There's a Hawks man, and they said you can interview him on the ground. It had never been done before. So he kicked 100. We run onto the ground. There's people everywhere. He'd gone. So he was already gone down at probably Colonial at that stage, Marvel now. He'd gone down the race. So he chased him after the race and was just about to grab him, and we ran out of cord with the camera cable.
No.
So then he goes into the rooms, and the media manager came out and said, oh, he's not sure if he wants to do it. And he bowled out, and Stephen Quartermain just threw down, said, Mark Howard's on the spot. And I was like, buddy. And, it was... I was buzzing, he was buzzing, he just kicked his 100th goal. I don't know. I just remember I compared him to being a rock star. I compared him to Mick Jagger, and I got home, my wife said, could you not gone something more contemporary? Could you gone Kanye or someone rather than Mick Jagger?
Yeah, and you would have been thinking all the lead up to that. What am I going to say?
Exactly.
And then you get in the moment, you're gone.
It was too much, and that was the day that that Clarko put Ruffy back in the final moments as your man Fev got stranded on 99, the big Fev. There's a man that's also doing great work in mental health space, because he came on the podcast at Howie Games, but not just with that, he's been very open about addiction issues, and
up in Brisbane that time.
He's a hero to people, Jakey.
He is.
And so if they can see that he's not heroic all day every day, I think it allows the rest of us to realise, you know what, I don't have to put on this front. Maybe I'm not okay all the time. He's a great man, Fev, and now he's dominating, he's killing it on the radio.
He's doing well, isn't he?
He's the big Fevelenko.
So in terms of today, Mark.
Yep.
You're obviously still in the media and stuff and that, baby. But moving forward, or what's the goal for you? Is there anything on the whiteboard at home, mate, or you? Yeah,
I just started with Fox Cricket last year for the first time, and left Channel 10 after they lost the cricket, and I've got a decent handle, I think, on calling the Big Bash. Doing the Test matches for the first time last year was a bit of a challenge.
Yep.
Never done Test matches before, and you sit next to like that, and you sit next to Shane Warne and Adam Gilchrist on Boxing Day, and you're pinching yourself, but you probably want to improve. So I'd like to get better at calling the Test cricket. That's a work-wise thing. I've committed to Fox for a long period of time, so hopefully they give the opportunity to me to get better at that. And but more important than any of that is my kids are 9 and 7.
Being a dad.
Yeah, after last Big Bash, we took them to Africa. Directly after this next Big Bash, so next February, we're taking them to Guatemala and Costa Rica.
Isn't Africa a great place?
Yeah, it's outstanding, mate. And to see your kids not look in a book, to see them look out a car window and see an elephant, or to see Victoria Falls, or to see that everyone doesn't live in a beautiful house and has a steady income. That's the most important part of my life with my wife.
You're pretty big on that, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Massively, mate. Massively. We're taking them to Guatemala and Costa Rica because there's amazing surf, but Guatemala, we're going to climb some volcanoes, but it's a poor country, and to see your kids, A, learn a bit of a different language in Spanish, and B, realise that there is more to life than the small little patch of happiness they have at Bowen Heads, it fills me with joy. So
it's funny you talk about that, because I went to South Africa last year, being around some other third world countries.
Where'd you go in South Africa?
We went to Johannesburg. We volunteered at a lion park there, which was just incredible experience. So we wanted to do it my entire life, which is great. And then we went to Cape Town. It's like a small Melbourne. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Loved it. Had a great time there. And so in the Western world, we judge a lot of these third world countries about what they don't have and how hard it would be. But when I was there, mate, the smiles on these kids' faces walking around, and that they got nothing. They don't know what they don't know.
No, that's
and they're as happier people and people because they're connected. They got purpose. They got family. And it's just, I'm sitting there going, how can we possibly judge a country like this when I look around where we are today in South Melbourne, people look miserable going to work.
Yeah, and they're all on their phones.
Yeah.
And I think that's with my kids. My young bloke was playing soccer with a guy in South Africa, and the bloke's living in the equivalent of a tin shed, and my young bloke had 15 questions for me about it, but none of them were negative. He's like, oh, so Dad, how does he do this, and where would he go to school, and why has he only got one soccer ball, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, we are blessed here. We are blessed here. So, mate, that's my focus. I've got a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful kids. I'm blessed. So there's work, but I just want them to see the world and grow up. And it's interesting with the kids though, because I asked this to Schwatter, when he was going to be on the news all week in the Royal Commission. What do you say to your kids? And he's like, no, I tell them all about it, and I explain it to my son. And I found actually, it's funny, I've never told you this, it was talking to you, I came away, and so my young bloke would have been 5 at that stage. And if he'd if my daughter would cry, I'd hug her. It's all right. And if my son would cry, I'd be like, come on, mate, sort it out.
Yeah, right.
And I remember having the conversation with you and thinking, wow, I need to be telling him exactly the same as I tell my daughter, that it's okay to be upset and it's okay to display your emotions, and you should tell me. So, yeah, mate, I should thank you for that, because it has completely turned my parenting around 180 degrees.
Appreciate that, mate. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that you've taken it away and done it.
Well, it's just natural for a bloke to say to his son, unfortunately, oh, mate, come on, get up and get on with it.
Yeah.
But
Toughen up.
It toughen up. Yeah. But it's funny, you make the connection that you shouldn't do that with adults now. Sometimes we maybe don't make I didn't make the connection that you shouldn't do that with your kids.
Yeah,
so now he's in tears all the time, which is good. Which is good, the little fella.
That's all right. Yeah, good on him. Good on him. Mate.
Yeah.
He's got good parents, mate, around him.
Thank you.
Mate, finally, before we drop you off, what's some advice you could give to anyone who might be doing it quite tough, or in that place that I've spoken about in Schwatter and that? Is there anything that Mark Howard does, mate, as a bit of a check-in for himself, a bit of a getaway? The surfing you mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's important to have something that you're really passionate about to throw yourself into, and that's surfing for me. For me, it's a place where I go out, I'm in the water. All that hippie stuff is actually true for me, about feeling connected, and it completely wipes your mind of anything you're thinking about. So I guess it doesn't matter what that is. That's for me personally, but what I've learned speaking to the likes of you and Schwatter just is so constant, is just like you're doing now. Just tell someone what you're going through, and he talked about the fact that he didn't tell any of his teammates, and Anthony Rock said to him, mate, we're best mates, how can you not tell me? I'm really disappointed that you didn't tell me. And he said the first person he told was like a massive weight off his shoulders. So sometimes I don't think it matters who that person is. Jakey, you would know better than me, as long as it's someone you have a bit of a chat with and say, I'm not going that well.
Yeah, that's it. Who's that person for you? Your wife?
Yeah, my wife.
Yeah.
My wife. Because I guess, she loves me if I'm happy or if I'm not happy, or I'm generally pretty happy. But yeah, my wife, and hopefully she is... she feels the same way when she chats to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, thanks, mate.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
I really appreciate you catching up and helping start the conversation.
Easy done.
And all the best, mate. I hope we catch up very soon. And for those who are listening, haven't downloaded the Howie Games, jump on. What is it, mate?
Just jump on Podcast One, or just have a look on your Apple app, and you'll be able to find it, the purple button on your phone. But listen to his episode. And listen to another. You'll know everyone. You obviously know Jake. There's one fella you might not know called Jack Jones, who fought in the Second World War and played football. That's another one I'd listen to, but you're a good man.
Good. Thanks, Mark. Good to see you again, mate. Cheers, thanks. So there you have it, guys. Episode 2 of Driving the Conversation. Just want to say thank you to Mark Howard for being a special guest today and helping us start the conversation in this beautiful Volvo Cars Brighton XC90. Now remember, if any of your friends or family that you think might be struggling, use the car as a great environment to get them in, take them for a drive, and start the conversation about mental health. For more information, jump on our website at www.otlr.com.au or visit our YouTube page and watch for further upcoming series of Driving the Conversation.
Driving the Conversation, brought to you by Volvo Brighton, supporting the Outside the Locker Room Foundation.